Welcome back to PerpDex Daily. I'm Aaron. In today's video, as always, we're going to be covering the PerpDex scene exclusively Hyperliquid and Lighter. And there's some big things we're going to get into in this video. Today, Lighter had their Q2 earnings call, reviewing everything. They had a bunch of influencers there and stuff, so super cool. And also some updates to Hyperliquid too. Let's get straight into it. Hyperliquid right now is trading around $65 and Lighter is trading around $2. Lighter had a big pump yesterday off the Robinhood news, which we had been talking about on this channel for a while. So I mean, 2 weeks. This channel's been live for 2 weeks, but if you've been following me on X and Telegram and stuff, you already knew this was gonna, we didn't know 100% it was going to come, but we knew there was a really good chance it was going to come. So hopefully you're positioned well for that. And make sure to join my Discord. I have a Discord and it's for traders. Hyperliquid guys, Lighter guys, join the Discord. We're running it up there. I'm talking there to everybody and stuff. So anyways, Bitcoin looking, once again, I still don't really like the way Bitcoin looks right now. It looks like it could snap down to 40K at any moment, but who knows where it's going in the short term. But Hype looks good and Lighter looks good. So, and that's kind of what we want to see. So if we take a look at Hyperscan, right now there's not too much buying pressure on Hype, but you can see the chart's just been chopping really well. A little over $500,000 worth of TWAP Hype buy pressure in the next 24 hours. And it's done over $2 million in fees in the past 24 hours. Really good. So pretty on pace for stuff that's going on. We take a Lighter protocol. Lighter's volume has actually jumped up a little bit since yesterday, sitting at around almost $2 billion. So interesting stuff going on. I would hope to see that considering the Robinhood partnership and announcement and all that kind of stuff. So, but let's first get into the Hyperliquid announcements for today. So the first thing is now you can long or short Gram. So Gram is the rebrand of the TON coin. The Telegram open network coin is now called Gram. So you can now, trade that on Hyperliquid, which is cool. And then trade.xyz, take a look at this. TradeXYZ and Hyperliquid data is now live on TradingView. Putting the data where traders live has been a top priority for us. Markets are increasingly shaped by events unfolding around the clock, and price discovery shouldn't stop when traditional venues close. Users now have real-time visibility into 24/7 price discovery on the world's most used charting platform. And TradingView is what I use. So the thing you see in the beginning of every single video is TradingView. So this is actually really, really bullish. Good for distribution because at the end of the day, you can have the best product, but it needs to be everywhere, and everyone's on TradingView. So good stuff. Next thing. So VALR, Africa's largest crypto exchange by trading volume, is using Hyperliquid as the on-chain infrastructure layer to bring perpetuals to its users. This marks the first time a centralized exchange has integrated Hyperliquid directly. By building a Hyperliquid, VALR can focus on the experience and interface its users trust. Users benefit from Hyperliquid's deep liquidity and on-chain transparency while never having to lead the VALR platform. This is bullish. If we're just being honest here, Africa does not have the deepest liquidity and the most volume, but still, it's good to be everywhere. And Africa does have a lot of users. There's a lot of people in Africa who do use crypto. They just don't have the deepest pocket. So I would say 100% still a very strong move and great to see for Hyperliquid. Once again, you want Hyperliquid everywhere. You want it on the best exchange in the world and you want it on, the smallest exchange. So liquidity is liquidity. Bread is bread. All right, now let's get into Lighter. So Lighter has kind of been the more talked about PerpDex in the past couple of days. If you didn't see what happened, we covered it yesterday, but Robinhood, finally the whole Robinhood thing came together. It was announced that the PerpDex for Robinhood's new L2 they're going to be rolling out is going to be Lighter. And as you can see right here, Robinhood wallet users can now trade perps and stocks tokens directly through Lighter on Robinhood chain. You can see it's listed right here as the PerpDex, right here. So really cool stuff. And today, kind of I guess the big story for Lighter is they just had their Q2 investor call and the founder and CEO is there. Really cool stuff. And this guy, so this podcast, the roll up, had the founder on the show. So you can see right here, they're talking about all the stuff right here. Pretty cool stuff. I've honestly not watched the whole earnings call, but yeah, cool stuff. Take a look at this. Also, OKX right here, new stock in the Crypto X Perps contract pairs. So I guess Light, the token for Lighter, just got listed on OKX X Perps, which is cool. But now let's take a look at these tweets from David Hoffman. So this is he's a big influencer, and he's probably one of the largest people in crypto who's currently pushing and championing Lighter. So he says right here on the Lighter investor call, repositioning Lighter into a comprehensive on-chain asset management platform. Lighter is actively pursuing regulatory license to be a U.S. first mover. And this is a big thing. Nobody's really talking about this right here. Some, people on Twitter were talking about a little bit And I also want to get into something else on the end of the episode in terms of who's investing in Lighter. Well, I'll tell you, Kevin Warsh is investing in Lighter. Yes, the new head Fed chair is a Lighter investor. You heard that right. Okay. And on top of that as well, guess who sits on the board, the advisory board for the CFTC? Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood. And these guys work closely with Robinhood. So in terms of getting regulation done and getting licenses done, it's possible, and a lot of people may not want to hear this, and I want to make it clear, like, once again, Hyperliquid is still the king, but it's very possible that Lighter gets regulatory licenses before Hyperliquid, simply because, A, the company they're partnered with, the CEO of that company, sits on the CFTC advisory board, and B, the Fed fucking chair is invested in Lighter. I mean, he probably has a bag of Hyperliquid too, I assume, but still, you know? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying Lighter is going to get U.S. regulatory licenses before Hyperliquid, but it could happen. Anyways, he says Lighter is a next-gen financial platform improved by ZK, set on Ethereum. And just take a look at this thing, roadmap and vision. You can see options, cover RWAs in crypto markets, enable on-chain structured products and yield strategies, repositioning to a comprehensive on-chain asset management platform. And this is kind of the direction a lot of crypto projects are going in. RWA is going to end up being one of the biggest things that come out of the space. It actually has product market fit, makes real money. So this really makes sense. And yeah, I think it's super, super bullish stuff. And let's kind of like go through some other stuff that he talked about. All right. So this is from the Q&A session. So somebody asked, when can we expect tokenized stocks on the Core app? By the way, they have an app, Lighter. The founder said that's actually happening very soon, like within the next week. So that's very, very bullish stuff. And some other cool stuff that David's tweeting out. But here's kind of one thing I want to point out real quick for you guys. And I tweeted this out. You know, the new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, invested in Lighter. LIT cabal really is stacked. And yes, you can see here Kevin Warsh is an investor in Lighter. And this is absolutely huge. And I think it's part of the thesis around how, you know, Lighter is probably going to end up getting a lot of shit done in the US. Another thing people need to understand is, guys, their HQ is in Miami. So they have Peter Thiel's fund, who's a big investor. They obviously, Robinhood invested. Now we've seen the partnership become public. So they're working with Robinhood, who's very, you know, known in the US. They're part of the US cabal, and the Lighter HQ's in Miami. I mean, when I look at that, I say there is a possible chance that the US picks Lighter first to give licenses to than Hyperliquid. I think it's really, and if I'm telling the truth, it's going to come down to what these people are actually allocated to. If the people in Washington hold bigger bags of Lighter, then they're probably going to give Lighter the stuff first. If they hold just as big as bags as Hyperliquid, then maybe they'll give it to Hyperliquid at the same time, or maybe they'll give it to Hyperliquid first. I'm just calling it how it is. You know, at the end of the day, everyone's out, you know, especially in this day and age, everyone's in it for themselves. So you better believe that these people are going to do anything they can to just pump their own bags. They're going to be like, all right, we can give a license to these guys first, and our bags will not pump, or we can give a license to these guys first, and they're already our buddies, and we're already connected to them. They're already in the US, and it's going to make our bags pump super hard. I don't know. That's just kind of my thinking around it, if I'm being truthful. But anyways, enough with the rambling. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of PerpDex Daily. A lot of stuff going on. Bags are pumping despite Bitcoin being in the dumps. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to join the Discord. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, everything. Follow me on X. I'm posting about hype and light all the time. And yeah, thank you for watching.